welcome to Nottinghamshire Live's hustings for the Ashfield constituency, ahead of the general election on July the 4th. My name is Natalie Fay, and I'm the editor of Nottinghamshire Live and sister newspaper, the Nottingham Post. Today, we're hoping to get under the skin of some local issues and find out what the candidates think. I'm joined by our agenda editor, Oliver Pridmore, who's been out in Ashfield finding out people's views, and he'll be posing the questions to the candidates today. So everyone on this call knows the rules of the debate, but for the benefit of our audience, we'll start with opening statements, which will be no longer than 1 minute each, and we'll then move on to questions, which candidates will also have a minute to answer, and we will close our debate with statements from all, again timed at 1 minute so everyone has a fair chance to speak. All statements and questions will be taken in alphabetical order by surname, and candidates will be given the right to reply during the debate if I deem it necessary. So you, the audience, will be able to leave comments on this broadcast today, but we're not taking questions from the audience. So just a reminder, the candidates standing in Ashfield are, in alphabetical order by surname, Lee Anderson for Reform UK, Alexander Coates for the Green Party, Daniel Holmes for the Liberal Democrats, Ria Keane for the Labour Party, Debbie Solomon for the Conservative Party, and Jason Zadrozny for the Ashfield Independents. So today we're joined by Ria Keane for the Labour Party, Debbie Solomon for the Conservatives, and Jason Zadrozny from the Ashfield Independents. Unfortunately, the following candidates were unable to make it, and that was Lee Anderson, who's defending the seat he won in 2019, now for Reform UK, Alexander Coates for the Green Party, and Daniel Holmes for the Liberal Democrats. We did offer all these candidates the option of having a statement read out on their behalf today, but none sent any over. So now we'll move on to the opening statements. So Ria Keane, would you like to go first, please?
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Ria Keane, your Labour parliamentary candidate for Ashfield. Now, since moving to Sutton back in 2022, I've wasted no time in standing up for our community. I've been challenging Ashfield District Council to save our Rumbles Cafe and stop their plans to kick the charity out, and their plans to build on green playing field space on Hardwick Lane in Leamington, and to protect our community centres in Carsick. I do this because I believe our government should be protecting our communities, and that's what we get with Labour. We can fix our roads and make them safer. We can make our streets safer by getting more police and putting youth hubs in place for our young people. And we can get more NHS dentist appointments. And we can finally end the injustice to the mine workers' pension schemes. This is the change we can get with a Labour government, and only with a Labour MP in Ashfield. So that is why I'm asking for your support, so we can deliver the change and get a brighter future for Ashfield.
Thank you, Ria. Debbie Solomon, Conservatives, over to you.
Hello, I'm Debbie Solomon, the Conservative candidate for Ashfield. I understand people are frustrated and expected more with an 80-seat majority. A global pandemic and war in Europe has made things difficult, but I get it. Delivering on immigration, health, and securing our food and energy so we're a strong and proud British nation is vital. I joined the Conservative Party 3 years ago to be part of a team to work to deliver it all. 14 years ago, Labour left our NHS broke. Conservatives have always invested more in our NHS, providing record funding, and we've introduced the first long-term workforce plan for more doctors and nurses. We've started lowering taxes, while Labour will increase them to 37.5% of GDP, the highest burden ever. Our plan is working. It's working for Ashfield. As Ashfield's next MP, I can focus on delivering the things that really matter to the people I speak with in Ashfield.
Thank you, Debbie. And Jason Zadrozny for the Ashfield Independents.
For 20 years, I've put you first. As your independent council leader, Ashfield's become the most successful council in the UK. And that's because independents put people before politics. An independent MP working positively with an independent council, well, the possibilities really are endless. I've proved that I can work with partners to deliver what's best for Ashfield and Mansfield. For example, reopening Ashfield Fire Station full-time after Labour closed it at night. My work will save lives. So whether it's transforming parks, building leisure centres, or delivering transformational projects like the Sherwood Observatory that Lee Anderson tried to stop, or the amazing things that are happening at Kingsmill Reservoir, I am the person who delivers time and time again. As your independent MP, I will fight for laws to fix our broken roads. I will fight for our NHS, and I will cut crime. and the only candidate who can deliver positive change, the change that we need after being let down for a generation by the big political parties.
Thank you, Jason. And now we will move on to our questions, and Oliver will be asking these. So just a reminder that we'll go around in the same order again, and you have a minute to answer. If you want to debate, that's absolutely fine as well. Of course, just go for it. Over to you, Ollie.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone, and thanks again for joining us. So I wanted to pick up firstly on an issue that came up repeatedly when I was in Sutton and Ashfield last week, speaking to people about their main concerns in the area, and many said it was law and order. A recent council-run survey found 70% of women in Ashfield believed they had been followed, with 60% saying they had been verbally abused in public. So what would you do to make Ashfield safer?
Ria, we'll come to you first.
Yeah, thank you. Look, this isn't the first time hearing this. I've spoken to thousands of people, and antisocial behaviour and safety on our streets is one of the most common things that come up. And I myself have had to call the police several times when in the town centre in Sutton, because there are drug users openly being antisocial and violent in front of families who are just trying to shop. So listen, what we would do is we would increase the number of police and PCSOs that we have on our streets. We will also make sure we create youth hubs so that we can get the future back for a lot of young people who are missing with nothing else to do. For example, I was chatting to one resident who said kids kept banging on his door late at night, and he asked them, why do you keep doing it? And they said, just call the police because we need something to do. The police will chase us around the fields. And so the idea that people are committing crimes just so they have something to do is really sad. So we can tackle that with our youth initiative and by getting more police on the streets. And then also making sure we can do the more holistic approach by improving mental health services and creating opportunities. Thanks.
Thank you, Ria. Over to you, Debbie.
Hi, so I have been out speaking to people, and it is really clear that one of their top concerns is actually about crime. And the most common thing they're most concerned about is actually antisocial behaviour from groups of young people. We need to engage with young people more. And one of the things that I've said that I will do is set up an antisocial behaviour and crime summit. I know that they've been put in place in other constituencies and they work really, really well. It's about giving local people that voice and that opportunity to engage with their local neighbourhood policing directly. So I was speaking to a lady yesterday, and she said that, there's drugs going on outside her home in a garage. They go in, they light a fire, and they're just hanging out doing drugs. So the police need to be much more responsive to local people about that. And that's what I would put in place to do. I also think focusing on other things is really important.
We are at a minute now. Sorry. Thank you. And Jason, over to you.
Thank you. I think, look, both of the big political parties have their fingerprints all over crime rising. Over the last couple of years, police and crime commissioners from both of them have closed police stations. When I inherited the district council here, Labour had slashed the number of community protection wardens. So there's a lot to do. And I think one of those things are people need to feel safe. So getting bobbies back on the beat. The previous police and crime commissioner cut the numbers. I've been working with them. I've put wardens back on the street here. We've increased CCTV tenfold. We have gated off alleyways. But what we really need is bigger than safer streets funding. We need people on the streets. We need people doing the job, particularly tackling the scourge of off-road bikes, drug use, and alleyways where people are causing problems. That's been a real problem. It needs tackling at a national level so that laws are easier for councils to do their jobs. And I think one of the first things I would absolutely do is make sure that the police do what it says on the tin, put people back on the streets so our people feel safer.
Thank you, Jason. Back to you, Ollie.
Thank you very much. So we all know that there are a lot of great businesses to celebrate across Ashfield.
Sorry, can I come back on that point? Because Jason has said something that is absolutely not true. The police numbers have not been cut under the last police and crime commissioner. There are, in fact, 400 more police in Nottinghamshire, and police
It's just not true,
incredibly active. There are. You look
It's
at the
not true.
figures.
They've gone up from a historic
in
low.
Nottinghamshire, and the crime statistics for Nottinghamshire have gone down under.
Debbie, there might be wonderful statistics in Rushcliffe, but in Ashfield here, they're just not the same. We need police back on the streets.
Under a PCC, across Nottinghamshire, crime has gone down.
You know what I would say though, the reality is that when you talk to people and you listen to people, they are not feeling safer on their streets. And that's a direct result of the decisions that nationally the Conservative government have been doing. And actually, I agree with Jason, it does need a national solution, which is why we need a national Labour government in charge. And only the government can make the change that's needed to happen. That's why we need to have a Labour MP who has a seat at the table in government to make those changes actually happen. You can't do it alone on your own. It has to be a national joined up approach with the funding that Labour are offering so we can actually deliver change. And actually in Ashfield, we've just voted this year for a Labour Police and Crime Commissioner. And I certainly look forward to working with the Labour Police and Crime Commissioner, Gary Godden, so we can deliver the change in Ashfield that needs to be delivered.
Jason, would you like to respond to that?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just don't think Ria or Debbie would be one MP just the same as I am. And I have proven what a one person can do. I've already done that. I do think I've already met with Gary Godden. I know Ria said she'd like to do that.
Yeah, I've already done that too and campaigned with him, Jason. Great guy. We're going to deliver good change.
One MP can do an awful lot. Look at what Richard Taylor did in Wyre Forest as an independent, saved their hospital. This is about who has a track record of delivery. And I'm the only person who does that. I am the only person here who knows where these alleyways needs gating. I'm the only person who knows where the CCTV has been put up. I'm the only person who knows where our safe spots have been put up or the buzzers for women who feel unsafe, because I live here, I breathe it. I'm the person who's been implementing it. And residents of Ashfield need to know that somebody has that at their heart, not a career politician who's just dropped in and then talks about national problems.
Debbie, I just wondered if you wanted to come in at that point, and then we'll possibly move on to the next question.
It is about local engagement, and that's what my plan will do, about engaging with people with local crime and antisocial behaviour orders. So people can talk directly with the police about the issues that are there. Those CCTV cameras that have been put in place, they're because of Conservative government that has provided the funding for those to happen. The Labour approach to increase PCCs by 13,000 will actually reduce the budget that's available to the police, because what they haven't factored in is that these people need to be trained, and PCSOs do not have the power of arrest that police officers do. We are delivering real police officers with real powers, and that's what we have done.
Right, that's clearly a very contentious issue. We are going to move on to the next question, though, because there's a lot to talk about in Ashfield. Over to you, Ollie.
Thank you. Yeah, so as I was saying, there are a lot of great businesses to celebrate across Ashfield, but many also complain about the state of the area's high streets and the number of empty shops that we now see. So how would you restore a bit of pride back to Ashfield's high streets?
And Ria, we'll come to you first.
Yeah, so I think we really do need to celebrate what Ashfield has to offer. So we have a really proud history in the coal mining history in the textile industry. And I would love to see us celebrate that theme through the way that we present our high streets, even in just the visual effects, so you can tell that story. But the biggest thing that we can do is have an economy that actually works for people. And you can only get that if you've got good financial planning and good plans for investment and for growth, because that then injects money into the area, and only a Labour government and a Labour MP can make that happen. So looking at Labour's Green Prosperity Plan, so we can get investment in Ashfield. We had Ed Miliband here last week talking exactly about that, and how we can make sure Ashfield gets its fair share of the growth that we're anticipating through our investment. That gets ploughed into our streets and our communities, and that will lift Ashfield so we can take pride in our area once again.
Thank you, Ria. Debbie?
The Conservative government's levelling up agenda is the first big proposal that's been put in place to improve our high streets. Ashfield has received £62.6 billion of that money for regeneration of Kirkby and Sutton High Streets. And I know those plans are in place. Work has started on Fox Street. I saw the redevelopment that's just beginning on there. But there is a lot more to do. So the government has put in place a number of other pots of money. So for towns regeneration, and we've committed another huge pot of money towards that as well. And Ashfield deserves an MP that's going to fight for that money. And I will do that to make sure that it comes in and builds on what's been started. What's been started is the result of a Conservative levelling up agenda. There is much more to do, and I will fight for that.
Thank you. And Jason?
Thank you. Look, I think, firstly, I think Ria perhaps misspoke. I don't believe she meant to sort of suggest that if Labour weren't elected in Ashfield, that a Labour government would miss stuff out. But look, this is what we're already doing. I'm already the most successful council leader in the country in terms of securing funding. I've secured £62 million of Towns Fund, £6 million of Future High Streets Fund. We've had UK Shared Prosperity funding. We've had Towns Board Fund. And that's because we're already doing this stuff. So bringing people back into the town centres through our Spring Clean initiatives, through the events that we're creating for the public, by regenerating our leisure facilities. I've just done that in Selston now, just announced a new leisure building, but by bringing people back in. And what that means is that the boards we created, like the Discover Ashfield board, were incredibly successful. Nothing to do, might I add, with the current MP. They were, in spite of that, enormous engagement from individuals, from businesses, from charities, from people in education to make this stuff happen. And that's why the council and the area needs somebody who knows how to do this and finish the job of working together.
Thank you, Jason. It's been suggested to me, just for full transparency, while we've been on the call, that I should rotate the order that people are answering in, which I'm more than happy to do. So we will go reverse order for the next two questions. Thank you for that suggestion. Ollie, next question.
That's right. So on to another big local issue as well that came up when I was in Sutton. Bosses at the Kingsmill Hospital are expecting to record a £14 million deficit across the coming year, and its emergency pathways remain under high pressure, with patients waiting longer than they would like. So how would you make Kingsmill Hospital fit for the future and improve outcomes for its patients?
And Jason, we'll start with you.
Well, thanks, Natalie. Just as I said a few minutes ago, Richard Taylor, who was a fantastic independent MP, was elected and saved the Kidderminster Hospital when he was elected to Wyre Forest. Now, here, Ashfield, we have the best local staff, the best facilities at Kingsmill Hospital, and they've never been supported in the way they should have been. Kingsmill has been used as a political football pretty much since I was born there in 1980. Now, what happened was that the dying days of the Gordon Brown administration, he signed an enormous PFI debt off to build Kingsmill Hospital. Great idea, but a very bad deal. And that's never been resolved. And even at the last election, Boris Johnson came down and said he would write that debt off. Lee Anderson and the Tories failed to do that. So the crucial thing is, it shouldn't cost £800 to change a light fitting or a plug socket. That money should be on frontline care. What Sherwood Forest Hospital Trust need is that debt written off, so every penny goes into frontline care and on our fantastic doctors and nurses. It's simple.
Thank you. Over to you, Debbie. Perhaps you'd like to respond to Jason's criticism of the Conservative Party there.
So Kingsmill Hospital is a fantastic facility, and everyone I have spoken to has spoken incredibly highly of the service that they've received for their healthcare at that hospital. And yes, the PFI deal that was set up by the Labour government for Kingsmill has been a millstone round its neck, and we do need to do something about that. And we have, because we've invested millions and millions and millions of pounds into Kingsmill. They've got an 860 bed acute unit. They've got better operating theatres. They've got a whole range of services that have improved. And over the years, Kingsmill's standard has gone up, and it's now rated an outstanding hospital. And that is a reflection of the commitment to our health service that the Conservative government has put in. But also, we're creating 2.5 million more GP appointments. We're investing in 160 more community diagnostic centres and dentists. And I want to see that continue.
I don't know if you really addressed the question, how would you make Kingsmill Hospital fit for the future? If you wanted to address that actual question that we answered there.
So it's all about continual investment. And as a government, we're seeing the value of artificial intelligence and bringing that in to speed up analysis of scans and everything. So it's about investment and making sure that's in place, but also making Kingsmill future ready. We're the only government that's put in a long-term workforce plan to increase the numbers of doctors and nurses that are available. So securing the future of Kingsmill is about that technology and about the staff that put it in place.
Thanks. Okay, Ria, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Look, firstly, I would just say, from my experience and in my opinion, the only thing that has been holding our NHS services together has been the fantastic staff that are working tirelessly to make things happen and to deliver care for patients. What we need to do as a government is make sure we can support them for what's to come. And that means having better funding and investment so that we're not putting so much strain on individual staff. And that means getting better savings in our procurement processes so we can plough that back into frontline services. But it's also about ensuring that the whole chain of the healthcare service is joined up. So it's not just about saying the hospitals need to deliver everything, so not putting more pressure on Kingsmill, but actually making sure that people know how to use our health service more wisely. So actually, is it an A&E activity that you need, or is it actually a GP, or is it a pharmacy? If we learn how to use our health service better, then we can find that we can prioritise where we invest better and get better outcomes. Ultimately, the only way we're going to deliver the support that is needed is if we've got a Labour MP with a seat at the table, so that when we have a Labour government next, then I can sit there and make sure that the detail is known about our experiences on the ground here in Ashfield.
Thank you, Ria. Over to you, Ollie, for the next question.
Thank you very much. So anyone who has driven in Ashfield will know that many of its roads are not in good shape. So quite simply, what would you do to improve the state of Ashfield's roads?
Jason.
Well, yeah, I don't think it's just an Ashfield problem, but it's clearly a systemic problem. It's something we've been banging on about at the County Council for years because it's getting worse and worse. I think one of the things is systemic underfunding from the government to the County Council, and then the County Council changing their priorities. So there needs to be a real funding of infrastructure. We were promised that when HS2 was disbanded in this area, but that's not happened. Most of our money's gone to London. Well, crucially, what I'd do is put down an early day motion to Parliament. I would lobby for a law straight away that said there has to be a minimum standard of road repairs done across the counties by councils. I think it would get unanimous support. I think it could work utilities so they're not digging it up straight after. But there needs a law change. The county councils can no longer scrabble around with a bag of coal tar and not fix the roads. They need properly structurally resurfacing. And you know what? I fight all the time to bring jobs to Ashfield. I bring big businesses down here. Been successful, actually, 5,000 new jobs created. But when you bring those businesses down and they're driving around cobblestones, they want to know that we can get the basics right. Sorry.
Thank you. We're on to Debbie now, aren't we? Yes.
Yeah. Hi. Yeah. So our roads are terrible. Driving along, you have to dodge some potholes. But fixing them is actually under the remit of the county council, and it is due to having a Labour-run county council that there was years and years worth of underfunding to fix our roads. When the Conservatives took over the county council, focus did change, and there was a programme put in place to fix our roads. And now the government's put in £8.3 billion worth of money to do that. Nottinghamshire County Council has been given £270 million extra to fix our roads, and there is a positive plan in place and a schedule of road fixing throughout Ashfield. But we have an extra opportunity here with the mayoral devolution deal. There is a specific £1.5 billion worth of funding for roads that we have put in place to allow that to come into the East Midlands directly. And as the MP for Ashfield, I will make sure that we get our fair share of that funding and have an ongoing maintenance programme so it doesn't get this bad again.
Thank you, Debbie. And over to you, Ria. There was a bit of criticism of the previous council there. I don't know if you wanted to respond to that.
But listen, look, this is the number one issue that comes up on the doors. And it's very frustrating to me, the amount of people who go, oh, you know, it's the county's responsibility. Well, actually, as your MP, it's my job to make sure that everybody is doing what they need to do to make sure our lives are easier. And now, as your Labour MP, as part of a Labour government, we will actually deliver the funding that is needed so we can resurf our roads, not just with these cheap fixes, but proper long-term investment so that the county can then maintain them to a proper level. But what I would say is this, is that every other candidate in every local election has always pledged to fix our roads. It's something that the Ashfield Independence Party have always done. And then when it comes down to it, they go, oh, we can't deliver that because we're not in power. Because it absolutely makes a difference that you have somebody who is elected in the government to actually make the right decisions, rather than just making promises that they know they can never fulfill. So under Labour, we will fix our roads once and for all and raise the standards in Ashfield so we can take pride in our roads and make them safer. Because quite frankly, they are just dangerous and an embarrassment.
Thank you, Ria. Right, we're on to the last two questions now.
Can we just chat about this a little bit, Natalie? Because I think
welcome
this is really,
to, Jason.
really
You are welcome
vital.
to.
Firstly, I think there's an interesting point that Debbie said that it's previous Labour control, but that was 7 years ago and 14 years of a Conservative government as well. But I did think it was interesting where you talked about the funding and the plan to fix roads in Ashfield, and I thought you might elaborate. Which roads are being resurfaced then, Debbie, in Ashfield, thanks to the Conservative County Council?
There are a whole range of different roads, and you know quite well that that's happening.
I know exactly which ones.
You are a county councillor.
Which roads, Debbie?
Council
which roads, Debbie? Name one. Debbie, name one road that's being resurfaced.
For that, as
Debbie.
You've been asked a fair question, Debbie, if you wanted to provide an answer.
Well, I was driving along Huthwaite Road recently. That is in the schedule to get resurfaced.
It's not. There are two roads scheduled to be resurfaced, Sutton Road in Kirkby and Diamond Avenue in Kirkby. One's already been done. The rest has been left in a parlous state. Now, everybody agrees, we all agree this. Since the Conservatives have took over, we have been officially rated as the worst roads in the country, 100,000 potholes, and there's no one else to blame now. And so these have got to be systemic. And I know, really, you keep saying this thing about, you know, you need a Labour MP. And I know you don't mean to suggest it, but it does sound very much like if we don't vote for a Labour MP, Ashfield will get nothing. And I know you don't mean that, but you need to be a bit careful with your language.
No, I think you need to understand how influence works and how Parliament works. You have to understand what is going on in the ground so that when a government makes its decisions, it knows exactly what is happening in every area. If there is no one with a seat at the table, then Ashfield won't be heard. So they'll just get whatever the answer the government is doing. And actually, Jason, you are a county councillor, Jason. You are a county councillor and you have said you will fix the potholes. So why have you not been able to do that? Is it because you are not the ruling party?
No, well,
is that the reason?
Firstly, I said if we won the election, we would fix the potholes. And in fact, we have increased the budget. But every year, including this year, we had a fully costed budget amendment to put £20 million extra into roads across Nottinghamshire. Your party voted against it, Ria. There's no excuse.
Why has that not happened? If you've been elected and you said you would do it, how have you not managed it?
If it was true that an independent couldn't secure things for Ashfield, how did I get £6 million of future high streets funding? How did I get £62 million of towns funding? How did I spend £22 million on leisure? Because I'm doing the job. I've not been from Pittering to Worcester to Sutton. I'm doing the job on the ground.
Ashfield, like Matt Ralph, who worked incredibly hard to put that bid together, it was the government funding that found it, that allowed you to be able to apply for it. And it was Matt who is running that scheme, not you, but you're there to take the credit. But you can also take the responsibility. You're a county councillor. So if you cannot deliver more investment and funding to fix more roads in Ashfield, that's on you. And that actually demonstrates that as a lone voice, not a
You don't even know what streets are being resurfaced.
Right,
Come
I'm
on,
going to call an end to this pothole debate here. No one's ever going to agree on this issue, but
No, we
as
won't.
members
Well, I
of the-
agree we can get funding under a Labour government. I agree we can fix the roads under a Labour government.
We're moving on to the next question now. So we've got 2 more questions to go, and I'm going to mix up the orders again. So we'll go Debbie, Jason, Ria, and so over to you, Ollie, for the miners question.
Yes, thank you very much. So Ashfield, as we know, is an area that's home to countless ex-miners and their families. And when we marked the 40th anniversary of the strike this year, many were telling us that they have felt let down since the closure of the collieries. So how would you improve the lives of ex-miners?
Debbie.
I think ex-miners have been part of the valuable history of Ashfield, but times have changed. A lot of our coal mines have gone because we are transitioning to a greener infrastructure, and it's about reskilling and making sure that that funding and those education programs are in place to support people who did go into mining, that they have alternative jobs. But I think, you know, the mining community is part of the very, very proud history of Ashfield, and I think we should celebrate that and remember it. And it's really nice to see when you go around Ashfield that there are the big miners' wheels from the collieries dotted all over, and I think we should remember it. Absolutely.
Thank you, Debbie. Jason?
I think it's really important. Both of my grandfathers worked at Benting Colliery in Kirkby for 30 or 40 years. I mean, we've put down motions to the County Council to support changes to the mine workers' pension. I think that's one of the real fundamental things where people really feel let down. And I notice the Labour candidate mentioned it again in her opening oration, but nobody's done anything. It's all right saying, you know, we need a new Labour government. We had Labour for 15 years. We've had the Tories for 15 years. Miners are not a political football to be brought up at every election. They want somebody who understands what they do, who knows what it's like to have coal dust in their veins, to really care about passionately improving their lives and being fair with them. There is billions of pounds in the mine workers' pension pot that the government keep locked up. It's not new money that would have to be found. It needs unlocking and giving to those people so that they can have some dignity in their retirement. It's absolutely the right thing to do.
Thank you. And Ria?
Hi, yes. So I have to say that it's great news that in our manifesto, we have pledged that we will end the injustice to the mine workers' pension scheme. So that is a commitment that the Labour government is making, so it can then increase the amount of pension money that is being given back to miners. And the reason this is important is because actually a lot of people now are retired. So I know Debbie was saying that, it's about getting them a different job. No. We've moved on now. They're in retirement age. And actually, sadly, thousands of miners, ex and retired miners, have been dying every year before they've even seen justice for their pensions that they've been entitled to. So I'm really pleased to say that what we will do to help our ex and retired miners is increase their pension by ending the injustice to the mine workers' pension scheme. And then on top of that, it's also just about celebrating history. And I will say, if you get time, go down to the exhibition at the Mining Museum, where they have got a wonderful exhibition on until October, looking at the lives of miners and the women behind the mining strikes and telling their stories and bringing them to life.
Thank you, Ria. And final...
Natalie, may I just say, I think, and mine workers' pensions are really, really important. I know my granddad suffers from this, and so do many of other people. But I also think pensions generally, we must not forget people like the WASPy women who are locked out. Pensions justice are not for one section of society. This needs fixing root and branch, and I think people like the WASPy women deserve championing just as much as our miners do. They're just as proud.
Yeah, thank you for that comment. We are going to move on to the final question now, a bit more of a light-hearted one to finish. Over to you, Ollie.
Thank you. Yeah, so at every general election, there does seem to be a greater desire among voters for candidates who are local. So do you all live in Ashfield? And either way, what is your favourite thing about the area? And
Debbie, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm always going to be really upfront and honest with people. I do not live in Ashfield currently, but I live really, really close by, just a few minutes drive away. And I've lived in Nottinghamshire for over 30 years. But being an MP is an utter privilege. but it's a job. It is about having the best person who will deliver and work hard. And as a small business owner, I'm used to getting things done. I'm a self-starter and I will work incredibly hard for the people of Ashfield. And the best thing about them is the people of Ashfield. They're really warm, they're down to earth, they're hard workers, they're the salt of the earth. And what they want is opportunity to improve their lives, and that's what I'm here to help deliver for them.
Thank you. Jason?
Well, yeah, of course, I'm probably the local candidate in that sense. Born at Kingsmill Hospital, went to Greenwood Primary School, went to Ashfield Comprehensive School, and have never left. I love this place, and I'm really proud to be a councillor here because we've managed to do so much. Personally, my one favourite thing are the green spaces. I love being able to just walk out the door with the dogs and run off down the Dumbles and have a long walk with them and run around. I think we've got some fantastic open spaces, particularly around our heritage zones in Teversall and on Kirkby. But I have to agree with Debbie for the first time. Debbie, put a pin in the map. And the people are the best thing. We are warm and friendly, inviting, and brutally honest, but loyal people. And I just love so many friends and family that I've made here over my lifetime in Ashfield. So it is the people that make it a special place.
Thank you. And Ria?
Hi, yes. So like thousands and thousands of other people, I chose to make Ashfield my home when I moved here back in 2022 for a number of reasons. But partly it's because, we have really good parks. So I quite enjoy going to Brierley Forest Park and taking a walk around the lakes at Sutton Lawn. But also, like everyone else, I know it's cheesy, but people are so warm here. They are so friendly. So whether it's going to get lunch in a cafe and the fact that people will chat and talk to you and share their stories, or whether it's how welcoming people have been when I volunteered at Food Cycle or at the charity shop down the road. People are open and that's a real sense of community here, and it would be a real privilege to serve as the MP here to represent those people and stand up for that community.
Thank you. So that's all we've got time for in terms of the questions today. Thank you so much for your answers there. And we will move on to closing statements now, and I'll go back to alphabetical order if that's okay with everybody. So Ria, we will start with you.
Thank you. Yes. So listen, this is a close election, but it really is an election about change. This is our opportunity to finally be heard and be represented properly in Parliament. With a Labour government, we've got the right policies and the fresh ideas to bring about the change we need. Like we say about getting our NHS dentists, making our streets safer, protecting the miners' pension and giving justice for them, getting more teachers to fill our vacancies in our schools, and getting more SEND support for our children who need it. There's so much we can do if we have the right MP and the right government to support that. And that is the change I'm offering. That is the brighter future we can deliver together. And I will say that being your MP will be my only job. I won't have any other job or any other elected position, because quite frankly, this is an 8-day-a-week role if we really want to bring about the change that we need in Ashfield. So I hope I can count on your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ria. Debbie, you're next for a closing statement.
Yes, thank you. Past Labour MPs neglected Ashfield, leading voters to choose Conservatives in the 2019 election. Due to the Conservative levelling up agenda, Ashfield's received over £62 million for the regeneration of Sutton and Kirkby town centres. But it's just the beginning. I want to get to work to build on what has been started. Voting for anyone else risks splitting the vote and returning to Labour's neglect and back to square one. I have a positive plan for Ashfield: more healthcare, tackling crime, investing in local schools and creating jobs and supporting apprenticeships. Nationally, I support the Conservative plan to do everything possible, including leave the ECHR to control our borders, reduce national insurance for workers, scrap it for small businesses and ensure state pensions are never taxed. Vote smart, vote for me on the 4th of July to continue the Conservative plans that have been put in place for Ashfield.
Thank you. And Jason.
Thank you. Well, look, it's not just red or blue's turn to run again. That is very different here in Ashfield, and I think the current MP has been an unmitigating disaster. But this time in Ashfield, it's only he or I who can win. It's me as your local independent or Lee Anderson for reform. So residents face a really clear choice. Somebody with a real record of action and delivery, whether that be parks, leisure centres, town centre regeneration, making our community safer or more, or an MP who has us hitting the headlines for all the wrong reasons. It's me or Lee this time. Don't waste your vote on one of the big political parties who are playing Punch and Judy with your vote. This time, support an independent who only will put you first and not answer to anybody else. It's time for the change we really need.
Thank you, Jason. Obviously, you referenced Lee Anderson there, a bit of criticism of him. He's not on the call to defend himself. But Lee, if you or your representatives are watching, I'm more than happy to talk to you about anything in the run-up to the election, of course. So that brings us to a close for this hustings today. I just want to give you a really big thank you for coming along today and for your contributions. We know our readers will appreciate hearing from you directly, and we just want to wish you all luck with the rest of the campaigning. So thank you for your time today. And that's it.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Oliver.
Thank you.
And thanks for everyone who's been watching. Cheers.